On Monday morning, the ICU at the Chris Hani Baragwanath Hospital was reportedly had to be evacuated after the oxygen to the unit was cut off. Now, this saw some patients being moved to other wards and, of course, a lot of concern around this particular story. Let's get more details now when we speak to Professor Richard Nethononda, Head of Cardiology at Baragwanath, and Jack Bloom, DA Gauteng Shadow Health MEC. Thank you so much to you both for your time. Professor, I'd like to start with you. What exactly happened? Because some of the reports are suggesting that someone even used an access card, and this looks like someone had access, and it may have been someone who did not need to break in.
Yes, yeah, it's above the ICU and the theater, and that is also where my theater is. Above that complex, we've got a plant room. Now, a lot of pipes that supply oxygen, water, hot water, cold water, and the steam system goes through that plant room. Now, access to that plant room is controlled by the DID, and they've got what we call an intelligent key and lock system, which allows, tracking of who last opened the door or who last unlocked the key. So it would seem to me, it really sounds like an act of criminality, and by somebody who's looking for copper pipes, because a lot of these gas and hot water and so forth, oxygen pipings and so forth, they really run on copper pipes.
Sure.
Indeed, I heard that early this morning another copper pipe was stolen that transmit water into the autoclaving, the system that we use to clean theater equipment. So the problem with that is that, for example, if you disrupt those pipes, you disrupt the oxygen or air supply to intensive care patients. And, these are people that are unable to breathe because of their surgical or medical condition.
So how many patients then have been impacted by this?
Yeah, there were about 23 patients in the main ICU that had to be emergently evacuated, and that is very difficult because these patients are connected to ventilators.
Yeah.
Some are connected to dialysis machines. Of course, so many other lines that gives them life support medications to maintain their blood pressure.
Yeah.
Now, when you have to transport them, you really set them back, So whoever did this, for whatever reason, really, this is a criminal act because there is a high chance that patients will die. You set them back. And indeed, I believe that one of the patients actually died.
Sure.
So, this is really unacceptable, and we are appealing to community. Really, whoever it is, they must really stop this because it's really unacceptable.
And pardon me for coming in there. I'd like to bring in the DA's Gauteng Shadow Health MEC. Mr. Bloom, thank you so much for your time. This is very disturbing, extremely disturbing. If someone can come into a hospital, cut a pipe, that is so crucial. And we now hear, again, another pipe has been cut. What are you hearing? Is this a security issue or what is going on?
Well, there's been poor security at this hospital for some time, and that's despite the fact that they pay more than 20 million rand a year to a security company. There's certainly that aspect. I'm disturbed that it might have been deliberate sabotage. I mean, it's just inconceivable that people would put patients' lives at risk. And it seems they're doing it now during the holiday season because it's easier for them to get away with it. I suppose there's fewer staff there at the moment. But it seems to me it's an inside job, that this couldn't have been done without inside collusion. And perhaps security guards were in on it as well. Copper is valuable. There's been lots of reports of copper theft at our hospitals, including Sharpeneke Johannesburg Hospital. And, of course, there's another report that pipes were stolen again today at the hospital. So, it just shows you, frankly, the moral baseness of our society, that people could steal from a hospital and put the lives of patients at risk. But secondly, I think they need to jack up security and look at what they're paying for. A lot of money and not much result. But I agree with doctors who have said that the charge against these people, if you ever find them, should be attempted murder. And now that a patient has died, I think you can add actual murder. It's just deplorable, and I hope we can take measures to prevent it in future.
Prof, how long before this investigation is then finalized? Because there are serious charges for one person to face here, and I'm hoping there's also very difficult conversations you're having now with the security company if they've not been fired.
Yeah, we do need to jack up security in the hospital. It's quite lax. I mean, we regularly get cars stolen, for staff, really, and it unsettles you. We want staff to work in an environment where they feel secured, both their selves in person as well as their belongings. And a month ago, I believe that there was an incident where some of the Schedule 6 or 7 drugs somebody was attempting to steal them in theatre. Now, this is clearly, I don't think it's sabotage. I think it's criminality driven by someone from the inside the system.
So, Prof, do you still have the same security company despite all of this?
Our security guys are useless, basically. Even the so-called private security, I don't think that they're doing much there, Yeah. So we need to jack that up. We need cameras. And these cameras need to be monitored. The security sleeps on the job, basically, frankly.
Mr.
You can literally walk in and out in the hospital. A few days ago, I was with the chief matron, and we stopped some priests, walking into theatre. I mean, we were putting our boots, and the guy just walked in with his dirty shoes into the theatre, wearing his gowns, and we asked him, "Look, where are you going?" Now, we don't have to be doing that. We need the proper security into our main theatre. We need the proper security into our plant room and wherever patients are and wherever all these expensive machines and drugs are. We can't have this.
Mr. Bloom, surely the CEO must also be answering tough questions here. I mean, you cannot continue with the security company, and listening to Prof right now, patients, staff, everyone is at risk. If cars are being stolen, people are walking in and out as they wish, drugs are being stolen, why is this company still there? Is someone sleeping on the job?
Well, the security contracts were awarded in 2016, and they were only supposed to be for a 2-year contract, and they've been illegally rolled over for 6 years now. And the Auditor General every year says that, this is completely irregular. There was an investigation that found that the security contracts awarded in 2016, there was corruption involved, they're regularly awarded. And you have to ask yourself, why is an incompetent security company, not just at this hospital, but at other hospitals, having their contract renewed endlessly? Of course, we we're right to suspect corruption. Why haven't they put out a new tender and get a decent security company for this hospital? And they're paying more than 20 million rand. You could get a small army for that, and they are quite useless from what I can see. And as the professor has reported, Barrow Hospital is a large hospital. You would expect monitoring cameras to be everywhere. Why hasn't that been done? So I think there's a divided responsibility. There's also the Department of Infrastructure Development. They're responsible for maintenance of the hospital. They need to be held for account. Gauteng Health Department for not getting a decent security company, and the CEO of the hospital for not screaming and shouting to get things done and protect her staff, patients, and the hospital infrastructure. So I think we can't go on like this with patients' lives put at risk because people are conscienceless and want to steal from hospitals. Especially
because, as the Prof says, so much is going on already. Do we have a sense, Mr. Bloem, who the security company is, as we then going to try and get answers now from the Gauteng Health Department? This surely cannot be it.
Well, I think you should ask them, why have they endlessly rolled over this contract that should have come to an end in 2018? And why do they ignore the Auditor General every year when he says that this is irregular spending? I mean, there's huge money involved. They spend hundreds of millions of rand on security companies. And, I don't think that many of them should have got the contracts in the first place. One is right to suspect corruption. And I think the reason why they haven't called for new tenders is because of corruption, because, certain people are benefiting from it. I'm talking about security cameras across the board, security companies across the board, because they're all problematic.
Prof, we're out of time, but very briefly, how worried are you that these people will strike again now that you say another copper pipe was also stolen? How worried are you as the staff there that this will happen again?
Yeah, but can I just say this?
Yes.
The DID, Department of Infrastructure Development, is useless. Absolutely useless. They do no maintenance. They sit there like middlemen. We have got a very good CEO. But there's not much she can do when we've got a useless security company that has got a contract since 2016. DID, which is supposed to do maintenance and does little or no maintenance. And, it is the facility management unit of the hospital, which is very good, but they do not have the money because that is kept by DID, who does nothing, Try to get them to come and fix anything. They don't.
Oh, it's a very worrying situation, Prof, that you're painting there, and we will try and get the Department of Health just to also get a sense, as well as all the parties involved here, to see what exactly needs to happen before we start to see urgent action on this one. Let me thank you both for your time. That's Professor Richard Nethononda, Head of Cardiology at Baragwanath, and Jack Bloem, DA Gauteng Shadow Health MEC. A very worrying situation is unfolding there at the Baragwanath Hospital when it comes to issues of security.